Hi, I'm Lizzie Bauer of Western Colorado University's MEM, MS, MBA Writing Center, and this is Developing an Engaging Presentation, or Finding Your Wow, in 5 minutes. There are 5 basic principles to conducting an engaging presentation. Know your subject, know your audience, know yourself, find your wow, and be prepared. Let's start with knowing your subject. You'll want to gather as much information about your topic as you can from a variety of different valid sources. Before presenting, you should know enough about your subject to answer impromptu questions from the audience. It's okay if you don't know everything about your subject, but be honest if you don't. Never make up an answer or give audiences incorrect information. Getting familiar with your subject will help you determine the focus around which you'll develop your ideas. Are there any perspectives you haven't examined yet, or areas that you still have gaps in knowledge? Get clear on the goal of your presentation. Why would your topic matter to people? It's important to know as much about your audience as you can so you can tailor your presentation to their backgrounds. Don't introduce too much information at once, or people will forget, or worse, misremember what you've said. Try to identify with what your audience already knows, and use language your audience is familiar with. Interact with individuals in the crowd as much as possible. Dressing appropriately for your part will help people get comfortable with you. Think of ways you can incorporate audience members into your presentation, such as by asking direct questions or using group activities. Knowing yourself is a lifelong endeavor, and you may find that your style changes over time. You might pick up tricks or learn techniques from others, and as you get more comfortable with presenting, you'll discover which methods or tactics work well for you. But one thing you should always remember is to be yourself. Audiences can tell when you try to use a technique or style that doesn't feel natural to you, and you'll come off as fake or disingenuous. Get comfortable with who you are and develop a presentation that accents your best qualities. It's helpful to record and watch yourself to identify any distracting tics or mannerisms before you present. Finding your topic's wow can sometimes be challenging, but every subject has something extraordinary about it if you dig deep enough. If you're having trouble determining how best to connect the subject matter to your audience, ask yourself a few simple questions. How can your audience identify with the topics you're presenting? How might it be useful to people? Interview the people involved and bring them into your discussion. Are there any new perspectives on the horizon or controversies in the field? Bringing humor into the mix is always a crowd pleaser, if you can pull it off. If humor isn't your strong point, I don't recommend trying it. Inappropriate comments or terrible timing can kill your presentation. Lastly, ask yourself what the goal is for your presentation and what impression or tone you want to set with your audience. If you can clearly express the values you bring to the subject matter, your audience will identify with you, and you'll have the beginnings of an engaging presentation. Being prepared seems obvious, but so often it gets overlooked. You can't just think up a great presentation. You have to practice it out loud, preferably in front of a mirror. Having a good comprehension of the subject matter will increase your confidence on the big day. Try rehearsing in front of friends and colleagues who can give you constructive feedback on your performance. But take criticism with a grain of salt and don't make changes that will compromise your vision or your style. Remember, the most important thing is to relax and be yourself. If you've practiced your presentation multiple times, you should feel confident on the day of the event. I find it helpful to memorize the first and last few sentences of my presentation so that I know my performance will start and end strong. Remember to breathe. Consider a mindfulness technique or power posing before you go on stage. Don't forget to smile. And that's how you develop an engaging presentation in 5 minutes.